There's a lot of them, so it's pretty long. So maybe for the sake of our learning, I'm going to just limit that. I'm going to put maybe slice 0 through 10 like that, just to eliminate all the other ones. I'll just take the first, 10 or so. Okay, let's see if we have questions. Was the object called post or post? Trying to understand what the JSON look like and why you use post. So when I call fetch here, it returns a promise with a value that will be fulfilled. And that value is a response. Now we get the response, and then we handle the promise by using .then here. Meaning, okay, whatever we got from this promise that was fulfilled, take that value, and we're going to call the function that you passed to then, and the value from the promise will be in this variable here that I called response. Now, the name of the variable doesn't matter. I can call this whatever. You can call it whatever, but you have to understand that that is a response object. So that's why I like to use the name the response, because of the descriptive. Now, this object has information about the response, metadata, all sorts of stuff. What did you call? Where did you call? What did the server say? All the headers from the HTTP, whatever. But there's also the body of the response, which is what we see here in the browser. If we go to that URL, we see it's just a text, right? It's plain text with something written in the JSON format. But for the purposes of the body of the response, as we see it initially here, that's just text. It's nothing special. So what we do is, okay, I can make that text, extract the text from the body, and then turn that into a JavaScript object. And to do that, I can call JSON, this JSON function from the response object. If I call that, what's happening, it returns a promise that fulfills with a value. The value is the extracted text converted to a JavaScript object. So that's what happens here. When I say .then, the value that I return here is the next, goes to the next call of then. And this variable post, I call it post, is whatever I extracted from the response body, transform into a JavaScript object. In this case, because it's an array, right? It's an array. It's not an object in the top level here. It's going to be converted to an array. Array is an object in JavaScript, but that's what happens here. So this response.json call here will fulfill the promise here with an array of all those objects, post objects. Now, the name here doesn't matter. It can be whatever. Like I said before, I choose post because it makes sense to me. It's an array of post objects. Now, when I say post.slice here, there's so many elements. I don't want all of them for the purposes of our instruction here. I just want the first 10. So I slice the array, meaning I take from element 0 all the way to 10 minus 1. I don't include the element of index 10. So it's basically taking the first 10 elements. And then finally, I do a dot map, meaning I transform each element into something else. In that case, I need to pass a function that has a variable, and that variable is just the object, every element of the array. I can call it whatever as well. Doesn't matter. But here I understand this is an object that represents the post, right? So post here, going back to JSON, would be this one at first, and then the second iteration would be the second one, the next iteration, the third one, all the way to the 10th one, okay? So as I understand it, each object, I imagine this is stored in the post variable, has the proper title. So I want to extract this value here, right? So I need to access post.title here. So that's what I do here, post.title. And I return that implicitly via the arrow function here in this mapping operation. So I turn all of these objects into strings of these values here. Let me try to get it. Maybe it's helpful if I do it on the console here. I open my console and I'm going to say post array. I'm just copying whatever was there. You see this? Oops. I copy this, I put post here, and if I say posts, it's an array of 3 elements, and each is an object here. You can see there's a title, right? So if I do now, to get out of this, going back, if I do post.map, pass a function, let's make it explicit for you. Maybe it's easier to see. Function, post, like this, and I say return post.title. see what happens. Now I get an array of 3 elements, each being a string. And those are the titles that I extracted. Going back now. Now, finally, once we get all the titles extracted, an array of titles or messages, I finally call set messages with that array so that I get all these values here injected as a div each. And that's how you get initial data from the server. Now, it would be nice to use other things. You see there's user ID. There's even body if you want to expand a message. But we're keeping it simple. You can do it as an exercise. Try to leverage all this other information and add them to your container of messages. Maybe if you click the message, it will show the expanded body, the body information. Maybe you can say the user who posted it, user ID, whatever. Although this one only has the ID. But if you go here to this and say /users, you can also leverage raw data for users here. So this is a little bit more stuff you could do later. But enough of that. I'm going back and focus on the next step.